All right, welcome back to another episode of the J Youngblood Experience. You know what today is. We're going to go over the week 10 of college football. This is also number 60, my 60th episode so far on the podcast. And I want to thank everybody who's been listening and supporting the podcast. I want to come out with some merch soon, so I will start doing pre-orders for that, probably start getting some people on that, get some of the naming out. We need to get the J Youngblood Experience rolling. So yeah, I'm probably going to be coming out with some hats, maybe some t-shirts, probably start with hats though. Maybe some koozies, but for now, probably hats. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for, just being a part of the podcast, man. It's been dope. It's been something I enjoy and I look forward to every week. So I appreciate everybody being a part of it. Is it week 10? Yeah, week 10. Who we going to start off with? We're going to start off with the Ohio State and Penn State game. And Penn State let me down because I had Penn State winning this game. But in normal fashion, Penn State just can't win the big one. They can win all these other games. Let's see. We're gonna look at. Usually, we look at their, their schedule after the fact. But so what we had West Virginia week 1, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, and then obviously you lost to Ohio State. So it makes sense. They haven't played anybody, but I really wanted to see Ohio State go down one more time. It would have been a great experience for the weekend. It was already a good weekend for college football. But of course they couldn't win the big game, of course. Even though Ohio State didn't play well. They really didn't. I mean, Will Howard only had 182 yards passing with 2 tutties and an interception. And then who fumbled that? I don't remember who fumbled the ball on the goal line, but someone fumbled the ball on the goal line, touchback, went back to Penn State. Penn State had so many opportunities to win this game, and they just simply didn't win it. Drew Aller, 146 yards passing, with one interception, no touchdowns. Not going to really be very successful playing a game like that. Quishon Judkins still had 14 carries, 95 yards for Ohio State. And then rushing yards, their top rusher for Penn State was fucking 47 yards by Tyler Warren. Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State only had 55 yards receiving, and Nick Singleton had 54. So it wasn't really like an offensive game where you expected like there would be huge scoring as in past years. This was just a boring game. I guess if you're watching from the inside out and don't have like a dog in the game, but I mean, Penn State, like, I don't understand why you can't win that big game. What is the issue with playing big teams? Because obviously, it's been 10 years, and continuously, Penn State simply does not win the games they need to win. This would have been huge for Penn State. Huge. Absolutely huge, and yet they can't finish it out. Let's see, when's the last time Penn State beat Ohio State? Let's look it up real quick. Let's see. Why is it not pulling it up? See, Google, y'all be pissing me off. Because I'm just looking up when's the last time they beat them, and you can't even pull that up for me. Like, come on. Let's just say Ohio State has a win streak of 8 games, and they're 9-1 in the past 10 matchups against Penn State. So Ohio State has their number. What's his name from Penn State simply can't beat Ohio State. They have one win in the last 10 years against Ohio State. Last 10 matchups. Killed y'all in total yards, passing, rushing, yards per play, first downs, third down efficiency, fourth down efficiency, total plays, penalties. Penn State had way more. and then obviously turnovers. Ohio State had two. Uh, Penn State only had one. I mean, what we're seeing from this game is simply the fact that these boys can't beat the big teams, and that's been pretty. I mean, it's been the same thing for a long time, and I just don't understand why Penn State can't win those big games. This would have been huge for all of Penn State. All of Penn State. And I had to look up what the hell a Nittany Lion was, just a fucking mountain lion. I don't know why it couldn't have been Penn State Mountain Lions, but of course we got to do some special bullshit for a team in, in the Penn State Nittany Lions. Yeah, but I really had high hopes for Penn State. I thought this would be the year they could take down uh, Ohio State, but obviously that was not the case. And I watched this game, a little bit of it at least, at work, and in Penn State fashion, they just can't win the big one. They just can't. I don't understand. I really don't. I mean, all Ohio State had to do in the second half was kick field goals to win the game. Well, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, I'm not impressed by this Penn State team. I'm also not impressed by this Ohio State team. I'm really not. I mean, I think the standings this year are kind of weird. Just looking at it all around, it's just weird to me. I think Oregon is clearly the best team right now. A lot of people will make the case for Miami, but Miami hasn't played anybody, and they struggled with some teams that haven't been that great. They really have. So I'm like, they played Cal and only won by 1 point. Louisville is 52-45. Their defense just isn't good. It's just not good. I mean, Duke even put up 31 points on them last game. Their defense just isn't there, and then Florida put up 17 on them. But luckily for them, they don't play any hard teams coming up. I mean, they have Georgia Tech next, Wake Forest, and then Syracuse. So this team will obviously be in the ACC championship. I don't know if they'll win it. They'll probably play Clemson. I would have to look at the standings if I'm being completely honest with you. Or SMU. They'll have to play Clemson or SMU because Pitt also lost this week. SMU has one loss, but they're undefeated in conference. So I don't know. I mean, I see Miami coming out and having that bye week in the first round of the playoffs. We're gonna get into the Clemson game. I told y'all they were frauds a week ago and weeks before that. Same with Notre Dame, but nobody listens. But truly, Penn State probably should have dropped a little bit more than the 6th place. I think they're frauds. I don't think they're actually good. But the rankings are kind of inconsistent for me. You have a 9-0 Miami team, right? Who I guess you're going off strength of schedule. If you're going off strength of schedule, I understand it. But then you have Oregon. I guess their best win would be against Ohio State. It's just weird to me how it all transpired. Because, like, Penn State barely lost to Ohio State, but Texas got slaughtered by Georgia, but Texas is still in front of Penn State. And I understand you're probably looking at strength of schedule, but if you're looking at it based on where Georgia and Ohio State are 2 and 3, so why isn't Penn State above Texas? Due to the fact that they did lose to Ohio State, but they barely lost. And in Texas, like I said, they got absolutely obliterated by Georgia. So where this just inconsistent, very inconsistent. I think Miami should be 2 solely based on the fact they're 9-0. They're a Power 5 team and they're 9-0. Put them up there at second. Georgia lost to Alabama in an embarrassing fashion. So what are we doing there? And then same with Texas. I think if you're going to put anybody at 2, it should be Ohio State because they lost to a Oregon team who is currently number 1. And then Alabama is currently number 11. So how do you give Georgia the edge over Ohio State on the rankings? It just doesn't make sense to me. That's why all these rankings don't really matter to me. It's just the AP Top 25. Really doesn't matter. It really matters once we get into the playoffs and we look at rankings there after championship weekend. This way here is weak. I mean, I truly don't believe that Texas should be above Penn State, especially with how they lost to Georgia. think Penn State should be 5. I think Miami should be 2. I think this is weak. Like, they're 9-0. They're a Power 5 ACC currently at the top. What are we doing? I truly believe that. I mean, why are they 9-0 at 4? And then you have Georgia, who lost to Alabama in a very embarrassing way. Ohio State, I guess I kind of understand Ohio State being at 3, or maybe I would put Ohio State above Georgia because they lost to an Oregon team by, what, 1 point, I believe? 2 points? It's just weird to me. I don't think Texas should be that high. I don't think Tennessee should be that high. I really don't. Indiana, BYU being at 8 and 9 makes sense, especially even if they are undefeated. It's fucking Indiana and BYU, and Notre Dame being at 10 still is mind-boggling to me because they lost to Northern Illinois. I mean, I don't know how many times I gotta talk about Clemson and Notre Dame, but they're frauds. They're not good. They're not. We saw what happened against Clemson versus Georgia, and then they lost this past weekend to, who was it? Why did I not write this down? That's another game we need to talk about. I don't know why I don't have that in there, but they lost to, who was it? Louisville. Why is that not in here? I didn't even write that down. That's crazy. Perfect. All right. But yeah, I just don't understand the rankings, I guess, cuz like, and then you have Louisville, who's 25, but they just beat Clemson and they're at 19. Just inconsistency. I don't really like it, but I do think Ohio State is fraudulent. I don't think they're that good of a team. But then I guess you could talk about Oregon. Now, Oregon only lost or only won by 1 point, but I guess it's still a win. Fuck it, man. I don't know. Like I said in previous pods, this has been a very confusing year. Been very odd, very weird, very odd. The next game we're gonna get into is the Ole Miss Arkansas game. Let me tell you something. If Jackson Dart and Ohio State come play like this against Georgia next week, Georgia's gonna have a lot of shit on their hands. Jackson Dart threw for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also led the team in rushing with 50 yards. Jordan Watkins, my guy, had 8 receptions, 254 yards with 5 tutties. 5. They put up 28 points in the second quarter alone, and then after half, they put up 21 points in the third quarter. Add that with another 7 in the fourth and first, they put up 63 total points against Arkansas. Arkansas's Malachi Singleton only had 207 yards, 1 touchdown passing. Rashad, Dominion, I don't know how to pronounce my buddy's name, but 12 carries, 49 yards. Andrew Armstrong, 6 receptions, 135 yards. That's not bad. But when you go to team stats, bro, it's crazy. They had 200 more yards total of offense, 100 more yards passing, and 10 more yards rushing. Their yards per play were almost at 10 yards a play. 10 yards of fucking play. And it wasn't like they had more total plays. I mean, it was 76-65, not even 10 more total plays. They only punted the ball twice. Only punted the ball twice. They had 2 forced fumbles against Arkansas. And the time of possession was damn near the same. Jackson Dart just fucking balled. He balled out. 515 yards. 25 of 31. Only had the same amount of missed passes or incomplete passes that he did touchdowns in this game. And like I said, also, he led this team in rushing yards as well. This is absolutely insane. Like I said, if they come in off of this, having to play Georgia next week, they are going to play at home in Mississippi. At home in Mississippi against number 2 Georgia. Like I said, I still don't believe they should be number 2, but I mean, what do I know? What do I know, right? But they got to play number 2 Georgia next week. Going to be a huge game. Going to be a great game, especially if they're coming off this hot. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait to see what unis they're wearing. But this is going to be something that is going to be crazy. absolutely insane. I don't know what's gonna happen based on last year. Like Georgia, absolutely. I watched that game. I was at that game. Georgia playing Ole Miss, and it wasn't a game. Georgia just absolutely obliterated them. Um, Carson Beck looked really, really good, and he hasn't in the past weeks. 5 weeks, he has 11 interceptions, and we'll get into that next. But Ole Miss is looking hot going into a game against the number 2 Georgia, where a lot of people are predicting Georgia to win, even after a shitty game they played against Florida. But Ole Miss is coming off hot, and with Georgia being a little suspect, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't even know what it's opening up as. Let's Ole Miss versus Georgia. Let's take a look at what the spread is currently. Let's see, what would it open up as? Let's see what the money line is. Why isn't? Come on, pull it up. What are we doing? Damn. Give me something. So Georgia opened up as a 2.5 point favorite, and this is based on Sports Illustrated. I guess they use. Who are they using? Based on FanDuel. I mean, if you use FanDuel, this is gonna be a good game. I hope. Based on last year, I don't know. It's like I said. I mean, Georgia put these boys in a box. It didn't even seem like the two teams deserved to be on the same game or in the same stadium. It was insane. I went to the game. I expected Ole Miss to put up a way bigger, effort in that game. It just didn't happen. I don't know if it was because they were playing in Sanford Stadium, it was in Athens or what, but I expected a lot more from Ole Miss last year, and they didn't come. They didn't come to play. It didn't come to play at all. But this year, Jackson Dart, he may be the best SEC quarterback currently. It's got to be him or Garrett Nussmeier, right? I'm assuming. Who else would you put above, Jackson Dart? I don't know who else you would put above him. I really don't. I mean, a lot of people will argue maybe Quinn Ewers, but past 3 weeks, what has Quinn Ewers done? Besides losing to Georgia and almost losing to Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? Like, I would say it's probably Jackson Dart who's the best in SEC right now. I would have to give that away. I mean, the guy from A&M, he looks good, but they just lost to Carolina, and he didn't play that well. And you got a guy from Arkansas. What's his name? Malachi Singleton. But, I mean, he only had 207 yards last game. So I think you have to give it to Jackson Dart. I think there's an argument there to be had that Jackson Dart is currently the best quarterback in the SEC. And coming off, the preseason, you wanted to say Jalen Milroe or obviously Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers, but Jackson Dart has came out and played football. You know what I mean? They have, 1 or 2 losses. Was it 1 or 2? I want to say it's 2 losses. Yeah, 2 losses. I want to say obviously one is LSU, the other one is Kentucky. That's crazy to me. Because Kentucky looked like shit last game. The SEC football is just insane. Absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like it. Like, for instance, last week, LSU lost to Texas A&M. But LSU beat South Carolina, but South Carolina beat Texas A&M. It's just crazy to me how this lines up and how things are played. It's just, welcome to college football. It's getting crazier and crazier. I just don't remember in past years it being this wild. It being this crazy. Each week you don't know what's going to happen. It's just wild to me how it happens. And I wonder where college game day is going to be, because you got 2 big games from what I'm seeing. The biggest games are going to be your Georgia versus Ole Miss, and then you have Alabama and LSU next week. Those are going to be the 2 biggest games, and both are coming out the SEC. And unfortunately, Florida has to play Texas in Austin. Purdue has to go to Ohio State. Clemson has to go to Virginia Tech. They may lose that one. But those 2 are going to be the biggest games of the week. With Georgia playing Ole Miss, and Alabama playing LSU. So it's going to be another exciting week. You have two top 25 matchups. Actually, one top 15 matchup, and the other one obviously is a top 16 matchup with Georgia and Ole Miss. But it's going to be another exciting week. It really is. I would love to see, Florida take out Texas. I don't see that happening with them using a third-string quarterback currently. But I've seen crazier things happen, so it would be absolutely insane to see, but we'll see what happens. And getting into the next game, I'm sure y'all been waiting for this one. It's going to be your Georgia-Florida game. Not what people expected. This is not what Georgia fans expected from Jacksonville, and this is not what Florida fans were expecting either. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. The final score was 20-34, and that's going to the Georgia Bulldogs. That drops to Florida to 4-4, and Georgia to 7-1. But this game, the ending of it at 34-20 was not how this game went at all. At one point, I think Florida was up 13-6, but then Georgia obviously came back. Florida lost their backup quarterback to Lagway, to an injury. It looks like he messed up his hamstring. I don't know if he tore it or what. But Florida put up 13 points in the second quarter. Obviously, Georgia matched that with 14 in both the third and fourth quarter. Ended up at 34-20. But it was way closer than what the final score showed for sure. Florida was doing good the first half. They really were, and then they lost their quarterback. And he's already a backup quarterback with them losing whatever his name, Metz, or whatever the guy name was who tore his ACL. But Aiden Warner, 7 of 22, which is awful. I think this guy came from Yale. All he knows how to do is do calculus. He's not a football player, quarterback. It's just kind of a backup if you have someone who, like a quarterback who pulls his hammy, but obviously in this instance he did worse than that. Like I said, 7 of 22, 66 yards, and one interception. And that interception came at the end of the game, put Georgia up 34-20. Carson Beck was 25 of 40, 309 in yards and 2 tutties. The problem is my guy can't stop throwing the ball to the other team. Can't stop throwing the ball to the other team. He had 3 picks, only 2 touchdowns. Nate Frazier of the Bulldogs had 19 carries, 82 yards, and 1 touchdown. Receiving yards, Arian Smith for the Bulldogs had 2 receptions for 59 yards. Rushing yards for the Gators is Jacoby Jackson. He had 12 carries, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown. And Aiden Mizell of the Gators had 4 receptions, 66 yards, and 1 touchdown. And like I said, this game, if you watched this game, if you're a Georgia or you're a Florida fan, and you watched it and you said, holy shit, the Florida Gators may win, going into the fourth quarter, it was pretty close until the final drive by the Gators, which put them out with a pick. I think it may have been within the 40-yard line of the Gators, and then obviously it got a little rough from there. This was a very close game, not expecting how close this was. Like I said, if you look at stats at the end of the game and points at the end of the game, it looks like the Gators got absolutely demolished, but it wasn't like that at all. It really happened probably late third to fourth quarter. I had to rewatch it just to make sure I saw everything I needed to see. And let me explain a little bit about Carson Beck's interceptions. One of them hit the dude in the hands, bounced off, interception. The other one was just playing checkers, bro. I mean, Carson Beck was playing checkers, and Florida's defense checked out of a man offense, went to a zone, and he didn't expect that backer to go back, and he threw it. He didn't see it. He didn't think that backer was going where he needed to be or was going to be, and he threw it there, thinking that's I think it was a slant or in route was going to be open, and threw an interception. And a lot of people are like, well, why would you do that? Blah blah blah. Why would you? That's not him throwing an interception because he doesn't know how to read a defense. That's just Florida's defense playing better than what Carson was expecting. It happens all the time. It really does. It happens all the time. So really, 2 out of the 3 picks One of them was bounced right off the hands of the wide receiver. The other one was just a good defensive play, good defensive call. The other one was Carson's fault, and that's what happens. But the thing is Georgia is allowing Carson Beck to throw the ball 40 to 50 times a game in a situation where, I mean, a lot of people asking me for evaluation. What are you saying? What are you seeing from Carson Beck and doing this and doing that? I don't know what they're calling. I don't know if he's having to throw the hot route immediately, if that's what they're calling, or they're allowing him to read the defense to where, okay, Carson, we're going to give you this play, and your Z is going to be doing this, your X is going to be doing this, your H-back is going to be doing this, and we want you to read it. This is still going to be the hot route. This one's going to be open first, but if it's not open, you won't have the second read, third read, fourth read, right? But I don't know if they're telling him only to throw to certain players on certain plays. So it's kind of, a lot of people want to say Carson Beck sucks, or can't read a defense, but can he, or is he being told to throw to certain people, and these are the hot routes, this is what we're sticking with? So that's why you have to dive a little bit deeper into the concepts of the plays and the schemes that they're running. And I don't know what Florida, like, I didn't check. I was more watching the offense, but I didn't see what Florida was running, if they were doing mismatches across from the field and splitting the field, doing man over here, doing a little zone cover 2 or maybe a cover 3 over here. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. And a lot of people who don't know ball are going to look at this and be like, oh, yeah, Carson sucks, without evaluating each play and being like, okay, well, what are the Gators running here? What are Georgia running here? Are they running double slants? And then you got out routes on the other side. What are we doing, and what are they? Excuse me. Is Florida playing cover 2, cover 3 on the outside, and then on the other side, on the other hash, are we playing man? I don't know. This is not as simple as, oh, Carson can't read a defense. I really don't think that is, and Georgia fans need to let that go. They really do. Is he in a bit of a slump? Yes. He can't stop throwing to the other team. But for you to say he sucks as a quarterback, and even Georgia fans saying or thinking that Brock Vandagriff is better, is completely bullshit. Brock Vandagriff currently is I think he's bottom 3 in QBR in the SEC this year. Brock Vandagriff is not better than Carson Beck. He's not. And I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential to be. I'm just saying right now, at this moment, Carson Beck is better than Brock Vandagriff. Carson Beck is a top 5 quarterback in the SEC this year. And when it comes to SEC play, there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC. You got Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, even Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, my boy from Texas A&M, I don't remember his name. He's a dog. Vanderbilt's quarterback is a solid player too. And I'm sure I'm missing other players, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is there is a lot more to what we're seeing by Carson Beck behind the scenes than you are right there looking. And a lot of people don't know ball. If I was to ask somebody what defense Florida was playing most of the game, or were they blitzing, were they playing cover 2, were they playing cover 3, what protections did Carson Beck have? Were they leaving an empty set, or were they leaving a backer or running back in the back, give him some protection? Nobody would be able to tell me. Most people wouldn't be able to tell me. When I talk to my brothers, when I talk to my friends, they know, and they look at it and, okay, well, we're playing cover 2 here, we're playing cover 3 here, so you're going to have these guys stick to their quarters, and then you have cover 2. You're going to have that cornerback stay down, and then they're going to rise up. Once the wide receivers rise up, they're going to get caught, and then if it's a deeper route, it's just a lot of different shit. And a lot of people don't understand that. This is not just fucking checkers. This is not high school. This is fucking college football. You have some really good coaches in Kirby Smart, Billy Napier, whether people hate him or like him. He has very good knowledge of football. He does. Whether he's the best coach or he's the best recruiting, I'm not going to say that. But obviously he has the knowledge to have that position in Florida for a reason. All I'm going to say is I don't think this is solely on Carson Beck. I don't. if you see your quarterback is in a slump, why are we not running more rolled out passes? Why are we not doing speed option? Why are we not doing read option? Why are we not doing more RPO? Why are we not doing high percentage passes at the beginning of the game to get him in a rhythm? Play action, quick slants, out routes, inside. Why are we not doing these short routes to help Carson get into a position to where he's confident to throw the ball downfield? That's what Georgia fans need to be asking themselves. Is it Carson Beck, or are we not giving Carson Beck the beginning of the game, get him into a rhythm? That way, whenever you are running the ball, you have Trevor Etienne, or is it Travis or Trevor? Whichever one, right? You have Nate Frazier. Why are we not putting Carson Beck in a position where he's more comfortable when you get into the entirety of the game? Why are y'all not doing that? You're asking the wrong questions. You're saying the wrong things. You see the 3 picks and you're thinking, wow, Carson Beck sucks. No, he doesn't suck. What is Mike Bobo doing in the fucking press box? What is he doing to help Carson Beck be more in a groove, more in a rhythm to actually throw the ball in the later stages of the game? He still won you the game, but let's get him into a rhythm. Let's watch tape. Okay, Ole Miss next week. What are they going to be running? What do they like to do? Are they doing certain blitz? Are they doing stunts up front to kind of throw our linemen off? What are they doing? Are they bringing backers? Or how often do they bring backers? Are they blitzing often? Are they more of a zone team? Are they more of a man team? Do they play a lot of safeties out? And how much depth is their safeties going to have? Do we need to break inside and go in between the hashes? Do we need to use our tight end down the hashes? Our faster guys in the slot, do we bring them in? Do some mesh routes? I mean, you have to think more outside the box than looking at stats, because stats only say so much. Like this game, for instance, you see 34-20, and you're looking at the actual team stats, and you assume Florida got absolutely ruined. And that's not what happened. It was a close game all game. So you've got to watch the tape and see what happened throughout the game and see why these things were happening. Like I said, Carson threw a ball, hit Buddy in the hands, bounced off, and it was a pick. Florida brought a backer back that wasn't happened in that entire drive. And then you have a guy coming across the seam, and he throws a pick. I mean, like I said, I don't know what Bobo's doing. I don't know what they're calling. I don't know if they're doing, hey, we're throwing to a hot route each time, or we want you to read it. I don't know. But what I'm going to say is Carson Beck is a good quarterback. Georgia's OC and Mike Bobo needs to set him up with high percentage passes in the beginning of the game, get a run game going. You have the O-line, you have the talent at running back to do so. And it's not like you have played some top-tier defenses. Yes, SEC defenses are rarely very tough. Get the run game going. Get the slants going. Get the tunnel screens going. Get the halfback screens going. Put some high percentage passes in his pocket. That way, whenever you get into these games, like you could have won that Alabama game. You could have, absolutely. You got to get my man in a better position to throw the ball. You see he's in a slump, so what can Mike Bobo do to get him out the slump? High percentage passes, play action passes, and make rollout passes. Just quick slants, quick out routes. Get him into a rhythm. That's all you have to do. And I haven't seen that from the Dogs yet. I haven't. You can't. It's just you haven't seen that. You get in a position where he has 3 picks. You see he's upset on the sideline. Throw high percentage passes. Get him into a rhythm. Once you get him into that rhythm, that's when you start throwing the ball down the field. You get a 2nd and long, 2nd and 5. Do a play action pass. Throw it down the field. Just take a shot. But you have to give him those high percentage passes first. Get him into a rhythm. And that's how it should be. It really should. This is SEC football. Get him into a rhythm, high percentage passes, do some play action, some running, some halfback screens, stuff like that. You have to get him into a rhythm. You do. And I'm not seeing that from the Dogs right now, and I think that's the biggest issue, and that's why the fans are so frustrated. They're really frustrated with Carson Beck, but if you break down and kind of look at everything and just get a microscope and break it down, it really comes to the fact that he needs more high percentage passes in the beginning of the game, first 2, 3, maybe 4 drives, and then once he's in that routine, once he's in that rhythm, that's when you start taking those passes downfield. That's when you go in between the hashes and do those corner routes and post routes and flag routes. Just get him in a position to throw the ball at high percentage. That's all I can say. In Florida, you played a great game. You really did. This is no bullshit. I have respect for Florida fans because they have been through so much shit. McElwain, Will Muschamp, Billy Napier, Dan Mullen, y'all have been through it. Dan Mullen didn't even want to recruit at the last year of his fucking contract. He didn't even want to recruit. So I feel for Florida fans, and they stick in there. They have never been obnoxious, in my opinion. Georgia fans, you have. Shouldn't even be giving you advice, but I respect Florida fans because they have stuck with their team, even through the bad. And that's something I respect. And I think Florida fans, honestly, know I've talked to a few of you, and moral victories is not something you like, but at a season where you're 4-4, you have to take something, right? You have to have something. And the fact that y'all were able to play the way y'all did in Jacksonville and play tough without your starting quarterback, without your backup quarterback, playing with a quarterback from Yale who only knows how to do calculus, and probably he's an accountant somewhere. He may be going to a law firm in the next 2 years. You have to take something away from that. In fact, y'all played that hard. Like I said, moral victories don't mean a damn thing, but the fact that you were able to put the game up that you did, I think it's respectable. And I know Florida fans, they don't give a shit about anything but winning. But, that's what it is, man. I mean, that's what it is. Y'all didn't play a terrible game. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that your quarterback got injured, and it is what it is. I mean, you just got to take it with what it is and keep going. And like I said, I respect Florida fans because they've been through it. They've been through it, man. Absolutely been through it. All right, big, and I mean big upset of the week is going to be Louisville versus Clemson. 33-21. I told y'all. What did I tell y'all? I told y'all Clemson was fraudulent. I told y'all Clemson wasn't that good. I told y'all last week. I said Clemson and Notre Dame are no damn good. They're not good teams. They're not that good. You saw that week 1 with Georgia versus Clemson, and then you saw that with Notre Dame when they played Northern Illinois. It's the first time Northern Illinois beat a top 5 team in the history of the program, and they did it at Notre Dame. At Notre Dame. In this game, boom, I loved it. I love to see it. Reason why? I was tired of hearing about Clemson. Just like I hate hearing about Notre Dame. As long as I can remember, Notre Dame has always choked in the biggest moments. When they played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, I don't know if that was like 08. May have been 08. Let me look this up real quick. 2008 Sugar Bowl. Georgia Notre fucking Dame. Georgia Notre Dame. No, that was Hawaii. I'm sorry. It wasn't them. My bad. That was Hawaii, not Notre Dame. But anyways, we've been seeing it for years. We saw it when Alabama played them. And I think it was it 2012 championship. Let's look. Oh, that's LSU. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't remember. Damn. That's over 2. Anyways, Notre Dame has been doing this for a while. Clemson, we're not used to Clemson doing this, right? They'll give up one, like even when they had Deshaun Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Sammy Watkins, they'll give up one to a team. This one right here, Louisville before this game, I believe was 0-8 against Clemson in the past 8 years. Number 9. This is when it was over. This is yeah, it was lovely to see. Tyler Show didn't do great. I mean, this is Love Louisville. 17 of 32, 156 yards. Isaac Brown, 20 carries, 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Ja'Cory Brooks, 4 receptions, 42 yards. It's not like they did crazy things on offense, bro. It's not happening. Nikkei Klubnik of Clemson, the quarterback, 33 of 56, throwing the ball 56 times and only have 228 yards and 1 touchdown. Rushing Phil Mafa, I don't know how to pronounce this dude's name. They got some weird names in college football. 30 carries, 171 yards, and 2 TDs. TJ Moore, 5 receptions, 63 yards. So y'all threw the ball for 56 times, and one of your running backs had 30 carries. Let's jump into this shit. Jesus, I didn't realize that. Clemson was better in every category. More total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards. But guess what? Yards per play, Louisville has 6.2. And your Clemson Tigers only have 4.5. They fake Tigers, boy. Welcome. The real Death Valley is Louisiana. All right. First downs, Clemson had 31. 5 of 6 of fourth down for. And total plays, they doubled total plays versus Louisville. Louisville only had 59 plays. Clemson had 101. Penalties were the same. No interceptions, no fumbles. Time of possession, they almost had double time of possession. This is a win in any other game for any other team. Clemson, like I said, you were on fraud alert. I called it last week. You come into this game, and you thought you were great. You thought you were really good. After that Georgia game, you were like, oh, shit, well, it's just a fluke. No, you lost to Louisville, who is 6-2 going into this game, and now you're 6-2. Clemson was, in fact, fraudulent, and they had better stats. They had better stats. But you dropped the ball. Dabo Swinney, I'm calling you out. Ever since you lost, what's his name? Your defensive coordinator, I don't remember his name right now, but you haven't been the same, brother. You haven't been the same. At one point, you boys were down 26-7 in the third quarter. 26-7 in the third quarter, Clemson. Let me say that one more time. 26-7, Clemson. You were down. You played at home. You played in Clemson. And you couldn't finish the game. Carolina did against A&M. But you couldn't finish the game. Like I said, you were fraudulent. You were not that good of a team. And I've been telling everybody, and I got called crazy. And the fact is you're probably going to lose to South Carolina at the end of the year. And you play that one at home, too. Like I said before, Clemson was fraudulent. I called it last week. Nobody listened to me. And here we are. Here we are. I love when I say shit and people don't believe it, and then it comes to fruition, and then you have to backtrack. Clemson's fraudulent. They're the second best team in Carolina. It's not the same. They're not the same team. They're not up there anymore. It's just not it. It's not. There's some other teams coming up in Oregon. I don't know how, like I said, Ohio State, I think you're fraudulent too. I think the best two teams right now are probably Georgia and Oregon. I think that's the best two teams right now. Even with Georgia playing shitty the past couple weeks. I think it's Oregon and then Georgia. I don't know who's behind them. I don't want to put Ohio State because I really don't think Ohio State is that good of a team. But due to their schedule, they're probably going to come out on top in that division. But like I said, I don't think that Clemson is any good. And I think Oregon is the best team in college football right now. I really do believe that. And it's been a long time coming since, what's his name? Marcus Mariota. It's been a long time coming. And I think they're going to do good things. I don't know if they'll win. From projections, I'm seeing Georgia projected to win still, even after the shitty quarterback play and the shitty play calling. We'll see what happens. Georgia still has to play Ole Miss and Tennessee on the road against Ole Miss, at home against Tennessee. It's going to be a wild ride. I'm looking forward to it. Got a big game coming up with Alabama and LSU. Both had bye weeks this week. It's going to be a great. I love college football. I really love college football. For different reasons that most people do. Y'all just watch the game and don't interpret it. But whenever you're looking at the different plays they're running versus the different schemes the defense is running, it's different. It's poetry in motion. It really is. Getting into the last game we're going to go over in college football is a big win for South Carolina. Did not expect this. Coming into this game, South Carolina had 3 losses. One against Ole Miss, where they only put up 3 points. One against Alabama, in a hard-fought game where it was 27-5 or 25. And then they lost to LSU as well in the beginning of the season. But coming in this game, I did not think Texas A&M was going to drop one in Columbia. But they did. Lenore Sellers, 244 yards, 2 tutties, throwing. Rushing yards, Raheem Sanders, 20 carries, 144 yards. And then Josh Simon, 4 receptions, 132 yards, and 2 TDs. Marcel Reed of the A&M Aggies, 206 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Amari Sanders, 83 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. Jabari Barber, 7 receptions, 80 yards, and 1 touchdown. At one point, South Carolina was up 14-3 going into the second quarter. That's when A&M started coming back. Actually, A&M in the second quarter had the lead 2017. But then South Carolina put it on them. What is that? That's 24 unanswered points coming from the second quarter. So after halftime, it was 24 unanswered points by South Carolina. They played a good game. This is a tough team that really just wants to win football games. Total yards, Carolina killed them. It was 530 to 350. Passing yards, 244 to 206. Rushing yards, absolutely murdered them at 206 versus 144. Average 7.6 yards a play, 26 first downs. They were even at 70 plays for the whole game. 4 punts for Carolina, 5 punts for A&M. Penalties, it looks like that's what killed them. And I watched a little bit of that game. I didn't get to see a lot of it, but I did rewatch most of the highlights. The penalties did kill A&M, as well as they have 2 turnovers. Time of possession, A&M was winning that by about a minute. But Carolina was just very efficient playing Texas A&M. And you didn't expect that coming in. But like I said in previous weeks, going away, whether you go to Vanderbilt or you go to Alabama or Georgia, it's going to be hard to play. It is. Even with Vanderbilt not having their whole stadium built yet, it was hard for Bama to go in there and win. It was even hard for Texas to beat them in Austin. I think they won by three points, maybe. But Carolina is a tough team. It really is. They really are they're a tough team. You realize that from the beginning when they played Kentucky. That was a tough fought game. And Brock Vandagriff of Kentucky doesn't have an O-line that can keep up, but hell of a game by South Carolina to come off a team with A&M who was very hot coming into this game. They just come off a win against LSU in College Station. Huge win by Carolina. Obviously, when it comes to playoff hopes, they don't have much with 3 losses, but that's a big win for them, for sure. Big win for Carolina. And you're looking at the standings in SEC, and it's something else. Because you have 7 teams with 1 loss. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 teams with 1 loss in conference. got to think about what's going to happen in the end of the year. That's what you really have to look at. I mean, Georgia's at the top with one loss, but they have one loss total versus A&M having two losses. Tennessee has one loss. Texas, one loss. LSU, one loss in conference. Ole Miss only has two losses. If they go undefeated the rest of the season, I mean, you got to look at what they could do if they beat Georgia. It's going to be wild going into, the end of the season. It's going to be absolutely wild. It's going to be wild. This game coming up for Ole Miss is going to be huge. It really is. We're going to see if Lane Kiffin can rebound from last year after that win or after that loss against Georgia, but it's going to be wild, and I'm looking forward to it. This college season has been one of the most entertaining in recent memory, for sure. Most entertaining in recent memory because everybody's competing. And if you don't like competition, you're just a weird person and you don't like college football. But it's been very competitive, and I enjoy looking at it, man. I'll enjoy watching it. Truly enjoy watching it. It's something I absolutely enjoy. If you don't like this, then you just don't, like I said, you don't like college football. You don't. And let's get into the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys came to Atlanta. High hopes after a loss to... I don't even want to talk, man. I don't even want to talk about it, but we have to. Coming off a loss, not only to the Lions, but the 49ers. And let's just start at the Lions. A humiliating loss against the Lions, 47-9. Then coming and playing in San Fran and losing that game when you should have won it. Then coming in here to Atlanta, expecting a win. Dak goes down. And we bring in, what's his name? Cooper Rush. I'm going to tell you this. The dumbest play of the day was Mike McCarthy going for it. Doing a trick play. A fake punt. 4th down. At our own 40. And Brian Engler threw a pass that was so bad that my nephew could have made this pass. He read the wrong side. He threw right when he should have threw left. The left side was wide open. Obviously, he's a kicker, so you're on your own 40. Why are you kicking the ball, or why are you throwing the ball? Kick the ball. Let your defense do what it does. It played not bad against Atlanta. And just let it live to fight another day. But right after that, then Atlanta goes down with Kirk Cousins, throws a touchdown. It's just bad for Cowboys right now. Dak Prescott's hurt, calf or a hamstring injury as well as a hand injury. Got Cooper Rush who's going to play now. I don't know if they're going to use Trey Lance or Cooper Rush. We look bad. We're not making the playoffs. We're not. The Cowboys are really bad. They're not good. They're bad. One of the worst teams in all of NFL. The fact that Mike McCarthy still has a job is beyond me.